what Uranus represents, and it rules Aquarius. Now, what you get in the newspapers, there's two levels. Again, back to this octave, higher and lower. Usually what happens is that more times people are associated with astrology on the mundane level of what is usually the egoic personality, okay? The counterfeit ego. It's called the personality, yeah? The story that we have formulated around this sense of identity that we are using to define ourselves. And what happens is that when you're dealing with the personality, a lot of people will look in the newspaper and look up Aquarius or look up Capricorn or look up, Gemini, Cancer, whatever you are. And usually these are very generalized, and they're really talking from the personality level. Yeah. The thing with the astrology is that it's really a tool to help you know thyself. And there's the soul level, or the soul reading through astrology, which is what I'm more into. I'm more about the soul expression of it. So you have a higher octave or higher expression of a sign and a planet, and then you have a lower octave, which expression of a planet, which is based more on the personality level. The less a person knows or has awareness of themselves, where they are raising their self-conscious awareness up to the level of the soul consciousness, then the less you're doing that, then you're going to operate more on the program level of society, of your upbringing, or influence through peers or what's around you. These are where a lot of people still operate from. It's a program, beliefs, assumed beliefs. From 0 to 7, you're downloading a lot of information. You're in theta brainwave state, and your subconscious is getting programmed. You're not you don't have any critical reasoning thinking at that time. So from 0 to 2, you're in delta. From 2 to 6, you're operating through theta, and your subconscious at that age is very wide open, and you're just like soil receiving seeds indiscriminately impressed upon it, and the soil will just go ahead and grow whatever's being impressed upon it, you see. So the subconscious is incredibly powerful, but it doesn't know how to discern. It doesn't discern. It takes direction, you see? And your subconscious and your physical body is very connected, yeah? So the subconscious operates beneath the self-awareness of your waking consciousness, yeah? Your self-awareness is what would be called your objective mind, yeah? And that objective mind is supposed to direct and steer your subconscious. What consciously think and focus on and feel as true is how the subconscious gets impressed upon or programmed. And then that now directs the subconscious to go ahead and create, right, for you what you have felt or programmed it with or identified in yourself as being true. Okay, so when you're operating under the programs of the subconscious that have not been checked, validated, people are walking around with assumed beliefs, and if they were challenged on their beliefs, more time they'll come to realize they don't even know much about what it is that they're believing in. So that shows you that when you're operating on these programs, that's all they are, a program. And until you're conscious of realizing that you can change the way you think and feel based upon what you've been programmed with, until you realize that, you're just under.
Well, I hope our listeners was listening to what Siayome was saying. What Siayome was saying about astrology. Like one of the thoughts I used to believe was that what has what has it got to offer me? And when I say what has it got to offer me, in the sense that I used to be one of those people who would have looked at a paper and just read it and taken it as it being gospel. What about yourself, Buzzy?
The newspaper.
Yeah, the newspaper in general.
Yes, I think I'm probably slightly different to yourself. I think because I also did media as part of my study as well, so and journalism as well as part of my it was English language and and mass communication. So that cover all aspects of media. So I pretty much learned how stories are put together, how different interests and vested interests, shapes and influence stories. So I always read papers with a critical mind, and that's why I could have read any paper, no matter what it was, because it pretty much had an inkling as to how it was, or knowledge how it was actually done. And the question I was asked, like the motive behind the story, what is the position in terms of the influence that came with that story, and also you learn about angles, and you learn about the propaganda effect, and keeping on side and things like that. So I always look at newspapers quite critically. I didn't really necessarily say, that's the headline, so therefore because it's on TV it's true, or because it's in print that it's true. No, I didn't. They didn't really go with that. So the school was always quite critical of stories and question everything, as I was raised to do.
Okay, so we have a caller. We have a caller on the line that's going to ask you a question.
Yes.
So, are you there? Hello. Hello. Hello? 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 No, we could not hear you.
So you'll have to plug it back.
Let's try this. Hello? Alright, you know what? Okay, go. Speak. Just speak.
Yes, greetings. Can you hear me?
Yeah, on loudspeaker now.
I got a loudspeaker. Alright then. But this is technology for you. First, I want to give thanks for this powerful radio station, Slam Radio, and give thanks for the guest Siayome, and also Buzzy B. Buzzy B, like I said, I can't get rid of you.
No, man.
It was me and you Monday, you know what I mean? So it looked like we catch your wrist or no. So
I know.
I'm stalking you, you know what I mean? So anyway, it's all good.
It's all good.
It's all good. Yeah. But listen, I just want to ask a question to Siayome, because the whole thing about astrology, and the whole thing about spirituality, yeah? I know we've done a lot of work in that particular area. But the question I want to ask, how can we use that in terms of uplifting ourselves and as a tool to become more spiritual enlightened and reach a certain level of higher level of consciousness and awareness, because I do believe that someone like myself, when it comes to astrology, my knowledge is very, very, very limited, but it's the people like Siayome Speak, Galactic Clive, Edison, who to me are the master teachers when it comes to thing about uplifting and spirit. But the question is, right, how can we use it as a tool to move forward? I just want to bring it into the old mix because, yes.
Yeah, I hear that. Yes. Well, it was, how can we use it as a tool so we can move forward? Well, firstly, we first has to realize that it is a tool, Yeah, to help us know thyself, to align us with the more of the cosmic reality of who we are. Yeah. Now, a lot of people, unless they go into astrology, they don't realize, they just think it's just some signs, okay? But each one of these signs, these archaeological star constellations, they represent, through the law of correspondence, they're dealing with a part of your anatomy. For example, Aries represents the cerebrum. Yeah. Then you have I'm just going to go not in much detail, but I'll just give you a briefness of the corresponding points of what the astrology signs relate to your body. Yeah. So we carry every astrological, all the constellations, all the stars, the planets. I mean, we are a living universe, multiverse. Yeah. On a micro.
Sorry to cut you like that. So we say that the universe, we are part of the universe. What's in the physical body?
Yeah, you know, when we talk about the macrocosm, yes, well, we are the microcosm to the macrocosm. Yeah, so basically, what's happened? The macrocosm is an outpicturing of the microcosm within us. Another way of putting it again is to say that everything on the on the external is a projection of our consciousness from within. Yeah. So we carry everything within ourselves, and externalized, it gets externalized as a projection or an outpicturing of our consciousness. There's a lot we'd have to rethink and reconsider based upon the education and the misinformation we have been brought up with, which is mainly programming rather than any knowledge to teach us the truth of ourselves. Yeah. So some things that were actually natural and known seem very unfamiliar to folk based on what they've been led to believe around certain things, about certain things. So we're the universe, yeah? And there's the inner and the outer. And when, as in the law of correspondence, as I was saying about the astrology signs, they all represent an aspect within ourselves. They deal with the spiritual anatomy, and it also corresponds to the physical anatomy. So when I said Aries represents the cerebrum. Yeah, it also represents the spark of life. It also represents the I amness within. Yeah, the sense of self, the sense of identity. Yeah, from the soul level before we come into the matter, into materialization. Then after the next sign after that, after the fire sign, Aries, is an earth sign, which is Taurus. And Taurus is representing the face and the throat. Yeah, and the nasal area. And Taurus also is creative and is ruled by Venus. So it's about, you know, manifesting things on the physical plane. It's about enjoying the physical experience, expressing and experiencing life through the senses. Yeah. So people with Taurus sign, you'll see they have either nasal issues or throat. They could be great singers and very creative, right? There's a higher and lower expression, as I said, to every sign. Gemini is to do with the processing mind, the communication, how your receiver transmitter works. You see?
Let me jump in here because I don't have the line, because what you're saying is quite in depth. The question I want to ask: how can one? Is there a book one can read, or is there a course, or do you do a course on this particular area just to get the basics? Because what you're saying is so full on, and I feel this is the way forward in terms of understanding oneself from a spiritual aspect. I just want to, I can want to get some information, just the basic information, so they can start their journey. Yeah, as a book we can recommend, or CD, or courses. Yeah.
Well, on a basic level, there's many books out there on astrology. I never really learned astrology through reading it. It was things I was experiencing, and then later on I would read information that made me understand what I was experiencing. And so it's like I didn't learn about the signs by reading about them. I learned about them by experiencing them. And I then began to get more into it because I got my own chart done when I was about 19. And I was interested in it, but I didn't go deep enough into it like I have done now. But I would say a good place for people to start if they're genuinely interested is get your own charts drawn up if you can. Yeah? And then learn to read your own chart. Yeah? And there's a lot of books out there that can teach you about the houses and the signs on the basic level. Yeah? Right? So you're familiar with the houses, you're familiar with the signs, you're familiar with the you're familiar with the basics. You see what I mean? You know that Aries is a fire sign.
Yeah, but this is what I was saying. That it's because I really understand the basics. So one can answer the basics to empower themselves and take that journey. Because what you're saying is so fascinating and so in depth, and I'm quite fascinated by what you say. But anyway, I just want to ask you to Buzzy B.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Buzzy?
Yeah, I'm here.
You look like you put cameras on the business.
Well, it seems that way. It's all good. It's all good. Yeah. I'm not putting them out of business. I'm keeping them in business. we can all share some of the pie.
Yeah, because I mean, with some of the words where you're spelling notes, I know so you have some power, man. You know.
Yes.
Yeah. But question I want to ask quickly, because I'm gonna hang up still. What books do you recommend in terms of looking at everything about in terms of personal development and in terms of words and you can recommend? Because people are listening right now, people are quite fascinated in this particular area. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you can deal with a basic. Just look up a basic astrology book that teaches you about the houses, because I can't really specifically. My brother? Yeah, for a moment we was wondering if the question was for me or if it was for Buzzy B.
You know what? The question goes out to both of you.
Personal development.
Right. Well, you see, this. Okay. You know what I would say is would be a good start that would help someone get some understanding about cosmic laws, because you see we live by material mind law, and the true law is the law of life, and the law of life is the law of our being, and to be in harmony with ourselves we need to be in harmony with life, and therefore there is a cosmic or universal principle that all creation, all of existence is governed by. Yeah, and it's that relationship we need to have with the source of our being, some people call God, which religion actually blinds you to your true relationship with it. And I would say a good book for people, if they're serious, to help assist them on a spiritual journey is start to understand cosmic laws. Yeah, learn about, they've got the wisdom of Tahuti, but you can go into the Kabbalion if you want to. You see, the thing is, all the knowledge, people shouldn't get what we call biased and prejudice against certain information because it may be coming through someone or a source that they may not acknowledge, okay, or it doesn't look like them. If they don't look like me, I don't want to listen to them. That's how some people is. And the thing is, knowledge.
Yeah, so I want to hang up here because I'm currently at the phone and I want to listen on offline still. Yeah?
Okay.
So give thanks again. Yeah?
Thanks for calling in, brother. Thank you very much.
One love.
One love.
One love.
So, in response to the question there, if people were to look into, like, get Kabbalion, get the deal with the 7 Hermetic laws, right? These go into the principles of existence. It teaches you about the 3 immutable laws, which is all is consciousness, all is correspondence, all is vibration. Then there's another 4 mutable laws. Well, there's actually another 6, but usually you hear about the 7, okay? But there is another 2, right? But the other 4 is what you'd have: the law of polarity, the law of rhythm, the law of cause and effect, the law of gender. Now, when we say law, we don't mean law like in some restrictive type of thing in the way we look at law in this society, how we've been taught. I'm talking about a principles that govern everything, you see? Principle comes from the word that actually links to the word seed. Yeah? So the seed has all of the knowledge within it. You see? A seed of an acorn tree has the whole thing in it. Yeah? So this a seed, you can say, is an entity of consciousness that has within it, is endowed with all the knowledge that it needs to draw upon to become all that it is to be. Yeah, that's all innate or inherent within the seed. Yeah, so that's more what I mean about these principles. Principles of that which never changes. There's many opinions, and opinions often change, but principles seldom do.
Okay, I'm going to ask this question. You in our conversation, you did mention higher consciousness and lower consciousness. Can you tell me what the difference is so I can have a better understanding of what that means?
Yes. We as conscious beings it's one consciousness, but we have different aspects to ourselves. You may be familiar, a lot of people are familiar with the subconscious. Yeah? These terms given to different aspects of our consciousness that operate at different levels of awareness. So the sub is subconscious, which is beneath the conscious awareness. Yeah? Then you have your self-aware consciousness, which would be considered the conscious wake mind. That which makes you be aware of everything outside the physical you as being separate from you. Yeah? So that gives you awareness of me, different to someone else who is not you. You with me? So that is happening at the self-aware level of consciousness. Yeah? And then the higher aspect of our consciousness is called the superconscious, which we don't really hear talked about a lot. We usually hear about the conscious and the subconscious. Yeah, the superconscious is called super because it's above and superior to the consciousness of the physical plane and the physical beings experiencing it. So therefore, the superconsciousness is consciousness that is higher than the physical plane. Yeah, and that level of consciousness is where our true identity resides. Our true awareness. In fact, we began from super consciousness and stepped down in vibration, yeah, in order to enter into this manifestation that we call a physical body. Yeah. So in the existence, we have the spiritual, mental, and physical plane, and they all exist in the same time and space. We've been conditioned to believe that, we're here on the physical plane, and to be spiritual or to enter into the spiritual realm, you have to die, leave the physical body and enter into this unknown realm called the spiritual, or you return to God. This idea is making you believe that your source is separate from you. Yeah? When you are source, manifesting itself as an individualized expression of itself. I mean, a lot of things, in order for us to raise on the scale of self-awareness, needs to be we need to get rid of a lot of or dissolve a lot of beliefs that are not based on anything real, okay? And this gets in the way of us receiving new information, because we kind of defend the beliefs, which are actually programs that we have about a lot of things. And when we start to get actual real information about those things, it doesn't sound like anything we were brought up to believe. So then what happens is that the cognitive dissonance kicks in, and person tries to defend what their belief system and what they've been supporting or surviving on all this time, which is a natural thing, natural reaction. But the thing is, you can't stay there if you want to really get into the true knowledge of ourselves. We've been brought up to say that you can't know God, or what they call God, and it's the workings of God is a mystery, and it's none of man's business to even seek to even fathom such things. It's not of man's business, it's not man's affair. All of that stuff is just being taught to you to shut you down, okay, and make you afraid of the very source you're supposed to seek to know. Because look, you can't get orange juice out of ginger. You get ginger beer out of ginger. Yeah, you can't squeeze a tomato and get lemon juice out of it. Yeah. So what I mean by that is that you cannot be different from your source. And the source of us all, the starting point of us all, is that creative power, intelligence that some call God, some call the supreme being. Anciently we'll call it the all, or the absolute I, right, or source. But it's living creative intelligence, which is the source of our consciousness and our beingness and our individuality, because we're the individualized expression of that power. And then there's a science to the creation, science to how we manifest, how we materialize into the physical realm. So the consciousness, when I say higher consciousness, you're talking about your higher self, your soul consciousness. When you talk about consciousness, you're talking about the self-aware consciousness, you're self-aware of yourself being you, right? Different to someone else. And you realize that everything outside of physical you is separate from you. Then you got your subconscious, which is aware that everything is interconnected and nothing separate. Yeah. So those three aspects of yourself can also be made with the term I, me, myself, or me, myself, and I, as we hear it. But it's one consciousness, but it's moving into the different or the higher vibratory states of our own consciousness that connects us to our true self, rather than the program and the story we have adopted being here that we believe we are, and when we're not. Yeah, it's like an actor believing that, forgetting that he's only acting, and he can't come out of the role that he's playing. You see, that's what we're caught up in, because we don't realize our true identity.
Okay, I know we're coming close to the end of our show today, and I would like Buzzy B to share with us.
Yeah, it's just because Benedicte asked the questions about books in terms of self-development, and there's a series that I came across, and it's written by African American. It's Greatness is Upon You, Eric Thomas, and it's three series books. And the first one is Laying the Foundation. Greatness is Upon You, Laying the Foundation. It's mainly about principles and lessons about character development and character building and strength, and also tapping into the potential, yes, and the genius within yourself. And the second is abandoning the average, because quite often we don't do that, and seizing the greatness. I love that, because quite often we project average as greatness, and it isn't, and we're quite satisfied with where we are, but it's just the average. So he's saying abandon the average and seize the greatness, and the other one is about sacrificing and humility. Can also be the cornerstone of greatness. So I think they did three good series book, and it's by Eric Thomas. So give a little plug. It's available on Amazon. Greatness is upon you, all of you.
Thank you.
In addition to that, there are, I just come to my mind now, the thing says, well, there are some other books as well that deals with more of the spiritual, metaphysical, if you into that side of it, which just means beyond the physical. Muata Ashby, I would say, he has written some good books. Some people may have different thoughts on that, but the Memphis Theology, the Egyptian book Coming Forth by Day, and also when you're dealing with the hymns of Amun, the hymns of Amun is brilliant. Okay, you've got the Memphis Theology of Ptah. All right, just look this stuff up. Muat Ashby is a good author. You have also The Adventures of I. I'll give you a little jewel there. The Adventure of I. That's a powerful book to get. Okay, it's just in addition to what my brother has already said.
Okay. Once again, my apologies. We just, it sounds like we're rushing, but we don't want to. And for that reason, I'm bold enough to say I'm not even going to look in any of their direction. We'd have to have these brothers back on to get the fullness of what our brothers have, the knowledge and information that they will share with us. And what we'll do is go through that process, because I know very much so that in learning, the learning process is not that I can get it once, hear it once, and then go off and do whatever. I need it a few times so that it can be ingrained within me. So then I know that I would be doing it as simple as, well, how I drive a car or make a cup of tea or breathe. So it's important for us to understand that, all right, you've had a little taste today, but there is a lot more of this taster to come. So please continue to tune into Slam Radio. And we're here on Sunday next. We have Millicent, who will be sharing with us Sunday morning between 10 and 12, and then we're back here also on Wednesday between 7 and 9, and we're hoping that you will have a wonderful weekend. Stay blessed until we meet again. We have DJ Blinks in the house, and he's gonna play, I don't know what he's gonna play, but whatever he's gonna play, it's that, it's going to be good music, and it's going to be his vibes that he's giving off. So I have to say thank you to brother Siayome, who has shared with us a little bit, but he has so much more.